Спешу я, ребят.
Куда? Ты же пришел к нам на состязание?
По каким правилам будем драться?
У нас нет правил.
Hey guys, Guro Billy Brown here. I'm the founder of Adaptive Combatives, and we're located here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Today I'm asked to talk about some knife defenses for you guys to address the idea of a aggressive and violent knife attacker, and when the altercation starts, when we have nothing but flesh in between us and that blade. Okay, so before we get to the techniques portion or the concepts portion or the principles portion, we need to address a couple topics here. We need to address first that the idea of facing a knife, an aggressive attacker who is bent on killing you, to face that attacker for any long periods of time with nothing but skin and flesh. Anybody that tells you they can do that, well, you need to look the other way with those kind of people, okay, guys? Because it's just not reality. It's time and time again, history has told us that a blade, even an untrained person, can kill a highly trained individual with a blade, okay? So I want you to get out of the idea of that and into the idea of we use our empty hands for a couple reasons. We use our empty hands to buy us time to access a weapon. Now, we could talk about our own knife, and depending on where you are, knife laws differ. Here where I am in Tennessee, we pretty much have no knife laws. I could carry a machete if I wanted to. I carry 2 to 3 knives on my person at all times, and most of my students do also. But a weapon could be anything. A weapon could be anything that you use in your environment, anything you find in the environment. A weapon could be a little keychain that you carry. I know my father used to carry a piece of rebar that big, and he used to just slip it in his pocket. Just to access that. Coupons are legal in most places, and I'll bring out a couple of these ideas for you and show you kind of what I tell my people to carry if they cannot carry a blade. So, if the camera will zoom in, some things here that we can carry. In the Filipino martial arts, we call this olisi palad. It's a pocket stick or a palm stick. This is a traditional one. Obviously, a marker would work. I told you before, my father used to put a piece of rebar or metal in his pocket. That could cause a lot of damage. Obviously, a belt, if you could just take your belt off and you could use that buckle as an impact weapon and start flailing it at the person, at the incoming weapon, or at the person's face. All those things will work great. Obviously, depending on the area, if you can carry a blade legally, that's your number one option, guys. The problem with all this is with improvised weaponry, with bladed weaponry, with handgun, with firearms. The problem is that people focus too much on that weapon that they're carrying, and they don't understand or they don't train to handle that initial threat first, which is that bladed weapon. It has been proved time and time again that a aggressive, determined attacker can close in on a human being with a blade way before they can get their weapon out of their holster and on target. And even people that have been shot and hit with firearms while closing in with a bladed weapon have been able to kill that person before they have succumbed to the rounds hitting their bodies. So the blade is definitely. I train with it so much because I'm so afraid of it. I've been cut a lot in altercations. I've been cut 3 times. One was across my face. If the camera will zoom in. This was about 6-7 years ago now. It was I lost a liter of blood that night. It was 39 stitches inside and out. And still to this day, it hurts me and it itches. So it's a good reminder of what a bladed weapon can do to even a highly trained person. I've been in lots of violence. I've been training martial arts now for 33 years. I was a club doorman all around the South for 17 of those years. And even with all that experience and all of that training, I never seen it. I never seen it. So my point in all this is when we talk about the flesh against blade, I don't care how trained you are, you have to approach it from a very realistic point of view. And if you haven't had that experience, which I don't wish that on anybody, the stupid things I did, I have injuries from that will follow me for the rest of my life. But if you don't go out there and get that experience, you have to train force on force. This is where people miss in today. Martial arts has become so watered down. Every area, even the Filipino martial arts, which I feel is probably the most effective system for learning to defend yourself on the street. Okay, the Filipino martial arts consists of some of the effective concepts and ideas and training methods there are. So yeah, the watering down of arts over the years. You know, if you look back at the Filipino martial arts before the Spanish control, you know, it was all bladed. It was geared to blade. They trained with live blades, they cooked with live blades, and they fought with live blades. Then from there it went to flat stick, then to round stick, then now padded stick, and now headgear, big hockey gear, and swapping licks with sticks. So, you know, and now you got people training drills, talking of touch and go drills, touch go, touch go, touch go. No way even close to how a real attacker is going to attack you with a blade or a pipe. And they're talking about training how you fight. So, of course, the watering down of the arts is very, you know, it's something that everybody needs to approach in the art they're training, especially if they're geared towards combatives. And, you know, even in the Filipino martial arts, you have to ask yourself, is what you're doing conducive to surviving that 3 a.m. attack with somebody who just did 3 lines of cocaine and just got out of jail, you know, after 20 years and doesn't have any care in the world about taking your life right now with that razor blade he got. So, so my point in all this is you have to strip what you're doing down to the dirty core. You have to become that beast. When we show you these techniques in a second and we show you some of these principles, none of that matters more than the mindset. I mean, you have to approach this like you're the third tiger on the ark and it's starting to rain. Okay? You have to approach this with ferocity. And you have to become that animal that you may not walk around being. Because sadly, in this world, the only way to stop violence sometimes is with better, more educated violence. So I can't stress enough the importance of what we call the concept of a complete fighting arsenal. If you really want to learn to defend against a bladed weapon, guys, you better be training with one. Now I know that in some places, you know, we have online students all around the world, and I have people traveling to see me from all around the world, and some of what I talk about and teach may not work where they're at. Some places cannot carry bladed weapons, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be familiar with them and training with them, because a blade is unlike anything else in the world, man. We could talk about different concepts of hiding and getting cover from an active shooter. We could talk about all that. But the only way to learn to defend against a bladed weapon is to learn how to use it. And that's where most instructors, or a lot of instructors, as I say, get it wrong. They practice all these defenses that go against really how a blade works, okay? Because they don't train with it, okay? So the first couple concepts before we get to the nitty-gritty of it, so to speak, is understanding that I rarely want to block. Am I going to block if I need to? Sure. But I rarely want to block because a block, you're getting cut. Okay, so if Mr. J here was to pull the bladed weapon, and let's say he was just to do a slash and I just put my hands up, that's automatically a cut. He's just going to pull and rip that thing away. Now I'm bleeding. Now I can go into areas that are going to help me survive that. One of the areas that I always teach, and you guys that follow my work know that I never do this crap that you see so many people doing when they're transition drills or they're tappy-tappy. They put that muscle there, and as soon as that thing's pulled away, that muscle is cut, and now your hand doesn't work properly. Okay, your arm doesn't work properly. I put that bone there, and my blocks are hits, and I'm putting constant force on this guy, and I'm putting that bone there, and if he does pull away, if you notice the scar here, it will only cut down to that bone, guys. He's not swinging a lightsaber at me. It's going to only cut down to the bone. It's not going to hinder my control of my limbs. It's definitely not going to hinder me indexing my own weapon, be it my knife or my improvised weapon or my handgun, if you're law enforcement or a citizen that can carry a handgun where you're at. It's going to still keep me in the fight. Okay, so if I have to block and put up things in his path, it's going to be with that bone. This bone becomes hits. The next concept is, listen, people can tell you all these different things about how to stop big aggressive people that are trying to take your head off or take your life. They can give you all these ideas. The only one that really works is shaking the brain. That's it. Putting constant impact on this guy, taking his consciousness. That's the number one goal. And we want to do that with weapons that just hit harder than just punching does, per se. That's why I address that you use a lot of elbows. You really get that elbow working. You use a lot of headbutts. And you constantly just hit until the fight's over, until he's neutralized. Okay? So what we're going to do, I'm going to bring you through a couple common attacks. First one we're going to talk about is just what we call the knife threat. Okay? If a guy wants to stab you with a knife, you're going to be stabbed with a knife. Bottom line. Will you be killed? No. If you train with a lot of force on force, if you understand how to handle that stress and that mental game and that initial adrenal dump, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, you'll be able to fight through that and hopefully survive with just minimum damage, right? But really, mostly, guys that are going to come at you with a blade is going to be a knife threat. Unless they're looking to murder you, and that's a different concept, okay? It's a different game that of course we have to address it, but right now we have to look at highest probability here. If criminals want a couple things. They want your possessions, or your property, your body, or your life. Not necessarily in that order per se, okay? And we have to understand that. And we have to understand that when they first approach us and that knife is present, first thing they want to do is they want to show us the blade. So you'll see this, especially a lot in the States. You'll see, they put that blade either to your face or to your eye or to your body or to your throat. And first thing they want to do is touch you with it. You're going to feel cold metal on your flesh, bottom line. Okay? They do this totally for the alpha role playing is what we call it. Okay? Or alpha role reversal. They want to immediately activate our adrenal dump. They want to immediately try to shut us down. They want to immediately show control. They want to immediately show that they're in charge. Okay? So now first off, and that's another thing we must talk about, is walking around in what I call states of awareness. Guys, if you're looking at these videos from this YouTube page, if you're looking at my videos, if you're looking at so many other instructors' videos online, then you're looking at them because you're interested in wanting to know how to save your life. The number one thing to save your life, and will probably, hopefully, in your lifetime, work every time, is walking around in what we call a state of awareness, or code yellow, we like to call it. I use 4 different codes with my teaching. Code white is basically walking around in a state of dumbness. It's walking around in a state of unawareness. It's walking around in a state of, especially in the States, sadly, most people do. They walk around on their phones looking for imaginary creatures that aren't even there, right? Okay, that's what they're doing, sadly, okay? That's not what you should be doing, and you know it because you're looking at these videos. You should be walking around aware of your environment. You should be scanning. Does that mean you're paranoid? No. It means you're aware. You're aware that in this life that we live, sadly, violence and chaos occurs. And you know that at any moment it could happen to you or your family, and you just want to at least, when it does happen, or if it does happen, be a little aware that, hey, this is happening. Let's work from there and see if we can survive this. So if he ever gets this close to me, I screwed up somewhere, didn't I? My awareness level was down, or I didn't pick up the ABC, attack behavioral cues. Most times you're going to see those. Most people don't understand them. Most people can't pick them up. But if you're trained to see them and to spot them, then you will understand them. Most attackers will give you an ABC. Somebody approaching you with their hands in their pocket going, hey man, can I get the directions? That's a, why do you need to ask directions from that close to me? Why are your hands in your pocket? That's a cold red to me, man. My mama knows not to step this close to me. Okay? You don't need to step right there in that circle, or that bubble, my students call it. You don't need to step right in that. You can ask me for directions from there. Okay? So that's what I'm talking about, and you have to, and that's a whole nother video and a whole nother topic probably, but that's so crucial. And that alone will probably save your life because listen, attackers pick easy prey. Bottom line, you can see it in the animal kingdom and you can see it here in the human world. They pick easy prey. If they perceive you as easy prey, then you'll probably be easy prey. You'll probably be the victim. But if you walk around with confidence, with your head up, making eye contact, scanning, understanding your environment, if you walk around with that kind of confidence, they're going to look at you and they're going to go, no, not him. Because they're going to perceive you as the predator or possibly the predator. And that's my goal. My goal is to make you know that I'm the predator, that I'm the alpha. And if you're able to do that and project that energy, because energy is very transferable. If you don't believe me, how many of you have talked to a relative or a girlfriend or boyfriend, talk to them from very far away, and you're just talking, telling them about your day, and all of a sudden you stop and you go, hey, are you okay? What's wrong with you? And then they break down crying, telling you about the horrible thing that happened to them today. You ever done that? Well, how did you know something was wrong with them across telephone lines? How did you know that? Well, because energy is transferable. And the way you project your energy and the way you train your to throw that energy at people is very important. You can trade it positively and you can trade it negatively. What I mean by that is I can throw positive energy on you and make you think that I've loved you for my entire life. But I can also throw negative energy on you and make you know that I will bite your nose off to survive. And I even think that here you watching me, that you've seen that and that you've even felt that energy. And that's what I want to portray. This is where martial art instructors miss. The manipulation of what I call the KI switch, the killer instinct switch. You have to manipulate that thing. You have to be able to flip it on 110%. Flip it to 11, like one of my instructors say. Because 10 ain't good enough, right? And you also have to be able to flip it down. And you have to be able to become the norm. And you have to be able to meet people with open arms. You have to be able to pick up your child after you just did the violence that you might have to do to save her life. And you have to be able to escape. But then you have to be able to turn it back on again at will. That's the hardest part of martial arts. That's what you should be training more than anything. We are training with trainers here. These are aluminum trainers. So PYP, preserve your partners. Okay? The knife threat is when he puts it to my face. Like I said, they usually grab you somewhere and they want you to see the knife and feel the knife. They'll put it to your face. They'll put it right underneath your eye sometimes. You know, in the U.S., this is the most common. In other countries, I've researched that they'll put it against your body and stuff. But the face is the most common from here. The first thing I want you to do, guys, is just be aware of this and understand that he is doing this to emotionally shut you down. He wants you to know he's alpha, and he wants you to understand that he's in control. You need to let him believe this. So I put my hands up. I put my hands up because I want them as close to this weapon as possible. And I start begging. I start saying, man, my money's in my, whatever you want, you can have. Okay? Now, a couple things are going to happen to you psychologically. It's going to happen to me. It's going to happen to anyone. And anybody tells you they don't go through this psychological aspect, well, they're lying to you. Okay? I don't care how many altercations you be in. This still happens. First thing that's going to happen is that initial adrenal dump. You're going to get that tunnel vision, okay? Your overwhelming focus is going to shrink inside. You're going to be focused to this freaking knife, okay? Which you should be, okay? So all of this is going to be happening to you. Now, this is the fact. Do you really train how you fight? Do you really? Do you really go through force on force? Do you spar? I know so many instructors out there who who love putting out the high dynamic, pretty flowery flow drills with bladed weapons and sticks, but they don't spar. And even above sparring is what we call the force on force training, and we do it with the blade, we do it empty head, and we do it with the firearms. Force on force is when you actually put helmets and gear on this guy, which we're about to do, and you actually have him try to take your head off with whatever we're training at that time, and you actually try to neutralize this guy. You want to recreate this as close as you can to actuality, which obviously it's playtime. It's going to always be playtime. We're not going to take two razor blades and start swapping licks out here. Mr. J will probably leave, and he's been here for a long time. He'll probably go, I don't want to train there no more. And you're going to lose your training partners. But we want to get as close as we can other than just, banging sticks back and forth, right? Okay? So, if this is here, and I go through all this, my hands are up, please, I want you to breathe, okay? Then the number one thing is I want you to acquire and to grab this weapon-bearing limb like you love it, okay? Now, from this moment, I would probably grab it with two hands. And I would grab it. Let me tell you something. What is the most connected aspect in any sport or physical activity? Do you know? I bet you don't. The most common is grip strength. Just about any physical activity or any sport, baseball, football, just about any sport, grip strength is required. Guys, you should be training this. You should be working on your grip strength daily, along with everything else. And the best way to train it is through the Filipino martial arts, swinging heavy objects. One of the things that I do daily is swing rebar. These are heavy rebar that I cut down and made. I put a wooden dowel through them, and I just work swinging that daily. And then when you get rattan, the kind of sticks that you're going to be training with, it becomes slow motion almost. Okay, so the best way to really enhance your grip strength is by swinging heavy objects, guys. Okay. Also, you guys that do judo or Brazilian jiu-jitsu, Japanese jiu-jitsu, grabbing that gi constantly is also a great way to improve that grip strength. But that grip strength is extremely important when we're talking about knife defense. Okay, the next area of this, we got Darth Vader here with us. Okay. The next area of this is when that threat comes and I do my talking, he may grab this arm, but and you see palms are facing him. Because palms are passive, fists are aggressive. Remember, we're in a psychological battle here right away. So I start talking, please don't kill me. You can have whatever you want, please. Now, as soon as I make contact, and I make initial contact here, this is when we go into what I call alpha role reversal. Now, I start speaking to him as I'm beating him. I start speaking to him with venom. And I'm not going to do that with this video because I know some of my younger viewers, some of your younger viewers, some of you guys out there will be watching, but I want you to know that that's part of combat. It's not going to be peaches and cream. People aren't going to talk to you nice while they try to kill you. That's all part of it. Words will shut a man down, guys. I have stopped big people. I have stopped MMA fighters with just words. I've made them pee themselves, and that's no joke. This guy, he worked for my security team for 3 years before I retired. He has seen it and witnessed it. Manipulating that energy and the way you throw it on people makes the world of difference. Okay, guys? So I will be talking to him because now I'm alpha role reversal. He started out thinking he was in control. Now I want him to know that I'm in control. And the reason why is because now I want to shut him down through initiating his adrenal dump and all the other chemicals that hit our body and all the other things that happens when we're in a time of life situation, okay? I want to shut him down while I'm inflicting pain. I'm talking, I'm using my venom that's coming out of my mouth, and I'm being very guttural when I hit. And I would probably want to drive him into something. So if it's here, please. man, whatever you want. Ah, I hit. I push him into that wall. I wrap this thing, and I just start hitting this, and I'm hitting this, and I'm kneeing the growing from here. If you want to do this or that's fine, none of that. Everything else kind of really doesn't matter while you're driving this guy into something and you hitting him with heavy, heavy shots. The intensity and the energy and the animalistic intention that you project is what's important. Okay, you okay, Mr. J?
I'm super.
Sometimes, sometimes even through the helmets, you gotta be careful depending on the gear. That's an old helmet we're using tonight, old trusty there. But I'm trying to pull a lot of things. But guys, at least I'm trying to do is at least break forth the intensity and the emotional drive that I need you to portray if you ever have to defend against a bladed weapon. Okay, let's talk about disarming. Okay, disarming is a very controversial subject amongst combatives instructors around the world. Some say disarming will never work in a street fight. Guess what? I was one of those guys. Disarming will never work. You know why I said it? Because my instructor said it, and his instructors said it. You know, and but I kept training them, and I kept perfecting them, and I kept trying to pull them off during live contact, live sparring, force on force. And then one night I was presented with an aggressive attacker with a bladed weapon, and instinctively I grabbed it and I disarmed it. And then that person was subdued. And then I'm like, oh my God, the disarm worked. Yay. And then I started re-examining my thought process and re-examining and researching history. You know, ever since man was fighting man with weapons, people have been disarming weapons. You can find YouTube videos of untrained people taking weapons away from people. Okay? So, just because you think something wouldn't work, like the biggest thing, kicking doesn't work in street fights. Oh my God. Anything can work if you can pull it off, guys. Come on. Train it all. Train it all to as much perfection as you can. And train it all with an intensity and a force on force that you can. And then you may not even ever need it, but if you do need it, it'll be there for you. Okay? So let me talk about disarming for a second. A couple concepts here. Whenever we talk about grabbing blades and disarming them, we talk about using the bone. You'll hear this in all of my programs. You guys that have bought my training videos online, I talk about that bone more than anything else. More so than the muscle. People disarming with the muscle. We talked about this earlier. Okay? So, if that knife's here and I grab here, that bone is there. And I act like my bone is a magnet, and I magnetize myself to the blade. And then I push off. And then that would be my follow-up shots, obviously. A core rule whenever you talk about weapon disarming. You hit before, you hit during, and you hit after. Bottom line. What's going to make a disarm work? Shaking that brain. You've heard it. You either take a man's consciousness, you take his vision, you take his breathing, or you take his mobility. Okay? By putting constant heavy shots on the CPU, that's going to help. By moving him off balance and into something, by raking the eyes, by headbutting, by doing all this stuff all at once, you are overcrowding his defenses. So by doing this, by putting constant impact on his CPU, by thumbing his eyes, because let me tell you something, guys, if a man pulls a blade on you, in your mind, that all chips are on the table. You remember what I said earlier about you need to treat it like you're the last, you're the third tiger on the ark and it's starting to rain? This is life and death. You're either gonna go home or you're not. Even if you think a man is neutralized and just tried to kill you with a blade, he may not be. You need to turn it up. You need to finish him. So the thumbs to the eyes, you take a man's vision, that's very important. And I stress to cultivate the finger jabs. I stress to cultivate putting that finger in a man's eye or in his throat. I stress to cultivate the elbows as you clench and your elbow in the face repeatedly. And the headbutts. The headbutt is probably my favorite tool in the world to use. I know you're not supposed to probably have favorites, but it is. And I have probably dropped more men in my security bolting career with a headbutt than anything else. Because it's demoralizing. And you remember what I said, we want to, that alpha role reversal. We want to beat a man emotionally. You want to take the fight out of him. Okay? So cultivate those things, okay? So putting the hand on the weapon-bearing limb is so important. Now, obviously, I have both hands. Hold it like you love it. My head is available. My knees to the groin are available, okay? Use those, cultivate those. Drive him into something, put pressure on this. Okay, next let's talk about the actual attack. the guy has made up his mind that he wants to cut you, that he wants you to bleed, whether that was in an ambush. You know, when I was hit here and cut, I never seen it, man. I never seen it. Now, people ask me what the training did for that, because I still lost a liter of blood that night and had 39 stitches and still hurts 6 years later, right? What the training did was let me work through that. So that's something else that I should probably bring to your attention, is that you know, you hear people say all the time, when you fish a knife, expect to get cut. Really? I don't know if that's the mindset you need to be in, to be honest with you. That reality's gonna be there, and that high probability may even be there. But I don't go into expect to be cut. I go in it to mess this guy up and put as much blunt force trauma on this man, as much damage on this man that I possibly can, until that is neutralized. But if you go into it with that mindset and you are cut, you'll be able to hopefully fight through it and still survive. I'd rather survive with stitches than not survive at all, right? Okay? So the training will teach you to keep moving forward, I like to say. And that's the concept. I rarely want to block a blade. If he blocks this blade from here, he's already cut. If he blocks that blade, he's already cut, right? Do I have to block sometimes? Sure. In a real ambush and I barely see it too late, I put what I call the oh crap block. You know the term I'm really using, right? Trying to keep my language right for you guys. But I put that up, I may have to use it, but then I want to trap that limb all over again, the weapon-bearing limb, hold it like I love it, and hit this as much as I possibly can. Okay? But in a perfect world, we want to pass it by. Or at least that initial one. So the number one comes, I pass it by. The number two comes, I may be in for this. Stretching out, then this. This may be an arm break from here, or at least hyperextension. That is enough to, look at that, I'm barely doing it. That's enough to drive that. If I hear it fall fine attached to this guy and start putting in hits. Okay, that's one concept you could talk about. So if I'm lucky enough to pass that initial shot, if I'm lucky enough to maybe even touch that initial shot, I have to go in and I have to wrap this and hold it like I love it. Then I can start working on the hand and the CPU itself. Okay, I can hit with the palm, I can rake the eye and take the eye, but then that's the arm wrench immediately, man. And I'm not trying. It's so easy. Cultivate, okay? Okay. Cultivate this. Okay. Then once I hear it fall, I have to start putting pressure back to this. So I slap the ear, I rake the eye, and I just start putting in shots until he's neutralized. Okay, that's one concept that you must train. Being fortunate enough to pass or to get out of the way of that initial shot, but then running into the hornet's nest, holding it like you're loving it, hitting this, working on that weapon-bearing limb. Work it. Okay, guys. Now, ice pick grip, still probably most commonly used, especially here in the States, to kill people with. Very dangerous in the trained hands, just as dangerous in untrained hands. We can, of course, hope we're lucky and pass this thing by and work on its securing, work on getting that shot in, work on damage. We can, of course, do that. But let's say we can't. Let's say now the ambush is on us. We didn't pick it up in time. Our ABC didn't pick it up in time. Our awareness level was a little slow, okay? And it's on us. The oh crap block comes up. The oh crap block. Okay? Now, the concept of a flinch response is very, you'll hear that a lot in the combatives world. And some people I believe put a little too much emphasis on it, or not really too much emphasis, but don't explain it completely. The flinch response is a very true concept. If you look at car wrecks, people hit, they go through the windshield, what's the damages on their arms? Because our hands go, oh crap, to guard their face. The human body will do it. But see, this is where it differs. A trained person flinch response, I hate using that term even, will be different than an untrained person. And they've done tons of tests on this. One test I heard where they got some non-basketball players and some real basketball players, and they would they would say go and make them turn around and throw a ball at them. And the non-basketball players would get hit with the ball, and the real basketball players would catch the ball. Well, the real basketball players had a different Flinch response than the non-basketball players, didn't they? Same thing with us. So we should train that, yes, we may have a Flinch response, because that's natural, but our Flinch response needs to go through that and attack him. So if the blade comes, I hit the face, I thumb the eye, I secure it like I love it. That's the eye rake, and I run the headbutt. I run the knee still with it. See how I'm bringing him in and securing? That may be the bite to the ear. You have to become that animal, guys. I rotate this violently. That disarms the blade, and then I go back to my shots. So what did I do there? I used a block, which I say all the time, you probably shouldn't do, but I used it to my advantage. Will I get cut? Maybe. Will it take me out of the game? No. Will he remember this attack? Yes, because I secured that weapon-bearing limb and I handled the initial threat first. Now, all of this, guys, goes back to grabbing your own weapon and indexing your own weapon and going to work. You have to train that. If you can carry a knife legally, do it. And that's for a different video, but the material's out there, okay? But I hope, above anything, in this little clip that I gave you, that I brought out this mental game more than anything. Being able to manipulate that KI, that killer instinct intensity dial or switch with you. Because that's what's going to make you survive. What's going to make you survive is your attitude and your drive and your willingness to do whatever it takes. Guys, I'm Guro Billy Brown. I'm here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Adaptive Combatives. I hope you enjoyed this clip. I hope you got something from it.
Спешу я, ребят.
Куда? Ты же пришел к нам на состязание?
По каким правилам будем драться?
У нас нет правил.